Welcome to the Nightlord Quickstart Guide. This is a 5-minute guide for the seasonal players who are going to come back to play. This guide will give you a good baseline for the Nightlord class, and you can slowly optimize it at your own pace. Alright, so you chose a Nightlord. Great choice. Now, first to fourth job is pretty straightforward. There's not much to it. You can max out all your skills. The game really starts picking up once you get to level 200 and get your 5th job skills. This is where the class identity really kicks in. A Nightlord is a burst class. This means a lot of our damage is done within a short amount of time. Our DPM is lower than the average, but it's not bad. They'll be making adjustments for that in the future to buff it, but for now, we're still a very burst heavy class. Now, what skills make you a burst class? The first skill that makes you a burst class is throw blasting. You basically attach explosives to your throwing stars and does a lot of damage. It's pretty cool. The skill has 2 modes, passive and active. For the passive, every 10 seconds you get an explosive throwing star, and for the active version, it has 68 throwing stars which you can use. The next skill is throwing star barrage, or spread throw. This skill makes you throw throwing stars like a shotgun, and your shadow partner does the same. That being said, like a shotgun, you gotta be pretty close to be fully effective. In this case, when you use throwing star barrage, you basically have to be melee to ensure that all your throwing stars hit the boss. Any that don't is damage left on the table, which you don't want. What this means is when you're bursting, you're melee and vulnerable, which low-key sort of sucks as you play this class. The good news is that there's a few things you can do to make this a better experience. One is using your dash, and the other is Shadow Walker, which is another 5th job skill that's common for all the thieves. It basically allows you to attack while you're in dark sight, and this lets you burst a little more safely because you get to ignore a lot of random mechanics that bosses could have. And it gives you a little more final damage, which never hurts. Another skill that's really going to help you burst is Last Resort. This is basically a final damage increase. You just have to remember to toggle the second phase to activate. Those skills are core to your burst. You have a few other skills like Dark Lord's Omen, which is a summon, or Shuriken, which helps with your DPM. Feel free to use it whenever you feel like it. That being said, this is what your burst order should look like. This was taken from the Nightlord guide from the Discord, which is a great place for information. I highlighted the thief skills, but there are some common ones you'll notice there, like Epic Adventurer or Maple World's Goddess Blessing. All they do is increase your damage. It's nothing too special. Now, you may notice towards the end, you see this little ring. This is a ring of restraint. It's a super good ring that gives you an ability to boost your damage by a massive amount. You can get it from killing hard bosses. They'll drop a ring box and you can open the box and hope you get one. It's all RNG, so don't feel bad if you don't get it. Some people don't get it for months or years, and some people get it on their first boss. I wouldn't fret too much over about it. Now, next to the Ring of Restraint is your Origin skill. This is a skill you get when you hit 6th job at level 260. The skill does pretty much everything. It does good damage, it's good for farming, it binds the boss, and it's an iframe. All that is to say, it's super versatile, so use it when you see fit. So now, we're done with skills. Let's go over some other just Nightlord things. So 1, for your weapons, secondary, and emblem, you want them to have attack lines, preferably 3 for each of them. But that's a pretty hard goal to obtain. If you get 3 lines that are either attack, boss damage, or ignore enemy defense, it'll get you pretty far. In terms of the secondary, you would want to get the Princess Snow secondary. It's your best in slot. In fact, you probably want to grab 2. That way you can have 1 for bossing and 1 for mobbing. Of course, a special thing about Nightlords are throwing stars. Now, balanced Furies are gonna be the strongest throwing stars you'll have access to hands down. It's 30 attack, and you get them by doing the Phantom Force dailies. It should only take around 12 days. It's a little bit tedious, but I think it's a lot better than how you used to get the Balance Fairies. You can also still get Crystal Ilbies, same Phantom Force dailies, but that'll take around 9 to 10 days, and it's 29 attack. There's 2 other throwing stars that are pretty cool, the Flame and Infinite throwing stars. The recipe to craft the throwing stars drop from mobs. They're not as good as your Balance Furies, but they're more for style points and flexing. If you ever get bored on your Nightlord, feel free to go kill some mobs. The Mossy Snails, Teddies, or some other ones that you can probably look up, that'll drop the recipe. It'll take a while. Make sure you have some drop rate. In terms of the rest of the throwing stars, they're all pretty much sold at the NPC store. You only need 1 set, so you don't need to have an inventory full of it. If you want steelies, you can just straight up buy them from the store. One last note for Nightlords is that you might want to get a Cur Ring. What is a Cur Ring? It's a ring that doesn't have amazing stats, but it gives you a 9-second iframe. So that way you can burst safely. The only caveat is you can't move when you're in that iframe stance, but the boss should be bound anyway, and you can reposition with your dash and double jump. You get the ring from the Hyperspace Cube PQ, which you can find in the Dimensional Portal. And that's basically it. This is the baseline for the class. It'll get you pretty far. There's a lot of optimization you can do later on, and feel free to do at your own pace. But to get your feet wet playing this class, this is pretty much all you need.